Revelation's Spiral of Time, Part 3. My name is Daniel Vallis from InformedChristians.com, a website ministry devoted to discerning current events from a Christian perspective. This is just a watch, it's not a prediction. I don't know exactly how things will unfold, but we can study Scripture and get an idea and make some educated guesses and piece together the puzzle piece and treasure hunt that Scripture has for us to examine. In this video, we're going to take another look at what we looked at in our previous videos and try to look at it from a different perspective. Because it's a very complex concept, I want to help you understand it more and also get your feedback. I really want to hear your questions and comments. I may not be able to answer them directly. I may chew on them for a little bit and I might answer them in a later video. But I definitely want to hear your thoughts on this material as well. Some comments were made about how the spiral of time might resemble the Fibonacci, the golden mean spiral. And the thought had crossed my mind when I had first done the study, and it is definitely found throughout nature and throughout creation. But based on the description in Revelation of it being a closed scroll, that's the closest in visual description to the way Revelation describes it. And also Revelation makes another mention of the sky opening like a scroll too, which would be very similar to an Archimedean spiral rather than a gold mean spiral. Previously, I illustrated the concepts through the use of clock and circular cyclical illustrations. Now we're going to try to graph it out on a timeline, just so you can help visualize it a different way. And maybe some things will have clicked that may not have clicked before. So if we look at a timeline of 2012 to 2018, because we're dealing with the past and future events, and we are here, the end of 2015, the Revelation 12 sign, which will occur on September 23rd, 2017, that's there, and just in light of Revelation, the events described there and the celestial signs described, that appears to be the midpoint of the tribulation. Very clearly described. We have a poster on our website called Signs in the Heavens that goes more into detail on that. But if that's the Revelation 12 sign, which would be the midpoint of the tribulation, then you would expect to be able to back up 3.5 years, which would put you in about April of 2014. So we're going to mark that just for reference. And then also there's December 21st, 2012, which was trumpeted as the end of the world, and it may still be. That date was pushed a lot through the media and got a lot of extra attention given to it. So that's a suspicious date that we've been watching. It's a date to consider, but we don't know for sure. So far, our consensus is that going back in time will be somewhere between mid-2012 and at the latest 2014 of April. So somewhere in that neighborhood. Revelation 13:5 is talking about the Antichrist. And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. We don't know the specifics, but it appears when the Antichrist comes on the scene, there may be a short period of time where he's establishing power, when he uproots the 3 other kings and establishes power, and then it appears he signs the covenant with many. That part primarily revolves around Israel, and that is when it seems they count down, the official countdown of the tribulation, especially the first half, the first 60 days, that starts counting then. So he's going to be here for a little bit before that, establishing power, and then he's going to continue after that period, 42 months. And I think the way it's implied, too, in context with the other verses we've been studying, it's interesting that the word is used continue. The loop will continue. It will be a 42-month continuation. So if we say he jumped back in time from about where we are now to December 21st, 2012, now, we don't know if the jump back in time will be from around now or how long he will take to establish himself in power before he goes to continue 42 months. We don't know. It could be around now. It may be several months in the future. We don't know for sure. But if he jumps back to December 21st, and we're just going to use that as a frame of reference, we don't know for sure if it's going to be jumping back to that point, although there's strong suspicions that CERN was operating at high power at that point too, but it's hard to prove. So if he jumps back to there, and then the loop starts a 42-month period intervals, going 7 times for the 7 seals, this would be one way to visualize it. It could also possibly have the first iteration of the loop outside of the loop. For example, he comes onto the scene, goes through the first 6 seals, and then jumps into the loop, which is basically what the 7th seal is. We don't know. The only difference that would make here is you'd only have one less loop, but we don't know. So, but if you jump back to December 21st, loop for 42 months 7 times, that's approximately the time frame that it would be in. And then, once the loop breaks, Revelation 12, that war there, the midpoint of the tribulation is when the loop stops. Up until this point, he has seemingly endless time, because Revelation mentions at the midpoint, that is when he knows his time is short. Once the loop stops, then he knows he only has 1,260 days left. And he will continue another 42 months. That's 3.5 years. So the first time he's continuing 42 months, and then once the loop stops, that would also lead to a second 42 months. So he is in power for 42 months, but it's in different intervals and different time frames and at different places. So if it all picks up at September 23rd, to reset the prophetic clock to end on the final date that Scripture says, and that's part of prophecy too, then there would be 42 months after that, with the tribulation ending sometime in 2021. If we overlay the different seals, trumpets, and bowl judgments on here, this is one possible way that they could happen. You have the first loop would go through the 7 seals, the 7th seal repeats or jumps the loop, and then each iteration after that gains a trumpet judgment on top of all the other judgments. So it does get worse and worse each time. It builds just like the spiral. The further you go, the more repeating you will have. And then the final 7th trumpet is after the loop break, and that is the 7 bowls. So the last 42 months has 7 extra. It's taken to a completely new, higher level of judgment, with possibly the addition of all the other judgments in that new 42-month time period too as well. It's hard to say. And of course, between the 6th and 7th seal, that's when the Bible mentions the sky opens like a scroll. So we can assume that between the 6th and 7th seal is when the loop restarts again. And that will be a visual event. People will see that happening. Whatever changes are done to the world, it's going to be to the entire world. They will definitely not be able to miss it. And then the 2 witnesses, of course, are mentioned after the 6th trumpet, but before the 7th trumpet. That is when they are raised from the dead and they are taken up to heaven. So those are some key events there as well. So I hope this helps you just visualize it in a different way. Again, I want to hear your feedback. And this should remind us that we should prepare ourselves, not for the tribulation, not to endure the apocalypse, but that we should prepare ourselves, that we should prepare our heart so that we will be ready when Christ returns. Maranatha.